You ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, I bet. Here we go.
Believe I said that viewer discretion would be advised on this one, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Really quick, I want to give an update on the Gilgo Beach murders case. There's been actually a pretty, I would say, a pretty large development in this case in the last, I would say 24 hours or so, as far as what the public knows, right? As far as what the public is concerned with. But authorities are pretty much confirming at this point that they got Rex Heuermann because of his DNA. All comes down to the DNA from a pizza box.
Welcome back here at 5:30. I'm Maurice Dubois. The suspect in the Gilgo Beach murders back in court. New analysis revealed today appears to link the suspect to one of the victims in the case.
CBS 2's Jennifer McLogan reports Rex Heuermann's cheek swab was the subject of today's appearance.
Rex Heuermann walked into court, wrist cuffed behind him, showing a new haircut, and speaking for the first time, telling the judge he spends several hours a day in jail reviewing evidence.
And so the buccal swab just erases all doubt.
The district attorney claims that DNA on the pizza box that the alleged serial killer discarded matches Heuermann's cheek swab and thus links him to a hair from one of the victims.
The buccal swab of the defendant matches the DNA profile from that of the abandonment sample in the pizza box.
The defense attorney wants to see the proof.
And that's assuming a lot of different things, right? Because DNA can be transferred.
Michael Brown says he's still waiting for thousands of pages of discovery, video of the house, guns, storage unit, the seized vehicle, and grand jury testimony.
Which says there's a pizza crust, and then they talked about burner phone, and they talked about pinging in New York City.
More than a decade after the remains of 10 victims were found off Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach, Heuermann has been charged with murder in 3 cases as a prime suspect in a 4th.
We're working on the 4th Gilgo victim, and now we've expanded our investigation to include other bodies that were recovered in that area.
And how is his mood and demeanor now?
Well, he's somebody who has from the beginning has said he's not guilty. I made it a point to tell him, just get through this, Rex. Get to the point where we can go to trial and don't show emotion. He's a fellow who was working, has never been arrested, has a wife and children.
His wife has filed for divorce. Heuermann is also asking the court to allow his 280 seized firearms be sold to benefit his financially struggling family. In Riverhead, Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2 News.
280 seized firearms. And can we talk about his new hairdo? Dude is really, really awkward.
And speaking for the first time,
he's just a really,
telling the judge he spends several hours.
He's just an awkward dude. Everything from just him to his look, even, okay? His look. It's just... But for around 2 decades, the sands and marshes of Long Island's Gilgo Beach has kept a very dark secret. And we don't know if it's just 11. Okay, we don't know. I've wanted an answer to this case since it began many years ago. Body after body dumped along the shoreline, hidden for months and even years without even being discovered. Then, in 2010, a chilling 911 call made by a woman in fear for her life led police to search the area. What they discovered was human remains. Over the next year, the remains of 11 victims, mainly female escorts, were discovered dumped in the area, plunging Suffolk County into a lot of scandal. But the case went cold. No arrests were made, no suspects were named, and there was no justice for the victims and their families until now. This married father of two who has been arrested is suspected of being the infamous serial killer known as the Gilgo Beach serial killer. This 59-year-old has been charged and may be charged with additional murders now that they have his DNA profile, but originally, when arrested, was charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. He's also the prime suspect, again, in the murders of 6 others. This gentleman, and I wouldn't call him a gentleman, I mean, this, as Willie D would say, uncivilized mutt, Rex, is a Long Island native. He lives close to Gilgo Beach, where the killer dumped his victims. He worked as an architect in Manhattan, where some of the women were last seen alive. Neighbors, professional acquaintances, and victims' families all reacted to the news. His wife has filed for divorce, which, I mean, I just look at her. You can't tell me she didn't know something. But is the hunt finally over for the murderer, the serial killer that has plagued Gilgo Beach for decades? Because for more than a decade, those murders stumped law enforcement officials in Suffolk County who believed it could be the work of one or more serial killers who targeted sex workers, dumped their bodies along the remote beaches on Ocean Parkway. Now, again, we go back to 2010. How did this case kick off? This case began because of Shannon Gilbert, a 24-year-old sex worker who's still to this day, the 911 call, the everything about that whole night with Shannon Gilbert, including her very odd, strange 911 call. You could tell she was thoroughly afraid. The whole incident that happened with Shannon to this day is just crazy to me. Being the fact that the police at that point were engaged on the situation. I don't know how she still ended up disappearing and being, I don't get it. I don't get it. But that particular police department, the Suffolk Police Department, has also been plagued with, and including their top chief, has been plagued with a lot of scandal about them being compromised, not investigating this case properly. There's been a lot of criticism, rightful criticism thrown on that police department. Now, Shannon called 911 for help, saying that she feared for her life. Shannon was never seen alive again. And in that chilling call, Shannon is heard repeatedly telling the 911 operator, quote, "Somebody's after me," end quote. She was even heard arguing with a man whom she referred to as Mike, who appeared to be trying to encourage her to get back into a car, and at one point, she's heard asking if he's going to kill her. She goes on to say, "These people are plotting to kill me." Now, during a search for Shannon Gilbert in dense thicket close to the beach, police discovered the remains of another woman. Within a matter of days, the remains of 3 more victims were found. By the spring of 2011, the remains of a total of 10 victims had been found: 8 women, a man, and a toddler. Gilbert's body, Shannon's body, was found in December of 2011. Her cause of death, which is widely contested, with authorities long claiming it's not connected to the serial killer or killers, but that she died from accidental drowning as she fled from the client's home, which nobody believes. An independent autopsy that was commissioned by her family ruled that she died by strangulation, and her mother believes that she was murdered. Like Shannon Gilbert, most of the victims targeted were sex workers. Authorities had previously said that they even believed this could be the work of 3 separate serial killers that could be potentially responsible for the slayings over a period of around 20 years. But let me just say that in my experience, having reported on true crime for years, I can't think of a case off the top of my head where a serial killer like Rex, we're talking about someone like a Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer. We're talking on that sort of level. When they get to that level of killing, I can assure you, when they get to that level of killing, there's not 2 of them operating like in the same area like that unless they know each other, right? The only case I can think of off the top of my head where we had serial killers, plural, operating together, it wasn't because they were operating independently, they were operating together. But this, to me, feels like the work of one person. This was their chosen location. See, what happens is they tend to pick out a spot to dump their dead. See, a lot of these serial killers, and you can even go back and read up and research this for yourself. Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer in particular, would go back and violate their victims after death. The Green River Killer, when asked and scrutinized about that fact in particular, about him visiting the bodies after he killed them, in a lot of the times, it was because the body had gotten to a point where he couldn't do what he wanted to do, and thus he had to go make a fresh kill. But you could almost imagine almost like dumping your victims in a pods, so to speak. And you go back and you visit them, doing whatever violations that these sick people do, okay? That point always stuck with me when it came to that case with the Green River Killer. It always stuck with me. This case went cold for several years. While we all watched, even after a 2020 documentary dropped on it, we all watched as this case went cold. And then out of nowhere, Rex Heuermann gets arrested. Now they got his DNA. We know they got it from a pizza box, okay? I know this case is also known as the Gilgo 4, but there's actually 11 bodies that were found on this beach. And amazingly, he still has not been charged with any of these other deaths. He is, however, the prime suspect in the disappearance of a fourth woman on paper, Maureen Barnes, who vanished back in 2007. See, that's the other thing. It is 2023. She disappeared in 2007. Think about how long ago that was. Rex has been preying on the people of Manhattan and New York City for years. I highly, highly, highly believe that there is potentially more bodies and or another hot spot, so to speak, where he dumped bodies in the bulk method that he was using. He would, dump the bodies along Ocean Parkway and space it out as he could. But listen, usually people like this, 11 dead bodies found. Man, Rex could have a lot more victims. And he does. He strikes me as he could potentially have 50, 60 victims for all we know. He does strike me as a very awkward sort of individual. He does give me serial killer vibes. I ain't even gonna lie. Would he have given me serial killer vibes if it hadn't have been for his arrest? I'd like to believe so. Because dude is really strange. Just awkward in all respects. Now, although the investigation has been expanded to include other bodies that have been recovered in the area, Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney has declined to say when more charges could be filed. Prosecutors again revealed that a DNA swab from Rex taken after his arrest matched biological material from a male hair that was collected off burlap on Waterman's body. Burlap is a sack, essentially. Imagine a beanbag, competition. Burlap. Investigators again had previously said they made the DNA match from pizza crust that Rex had allegedly thrown into a New York City trash can. Now the state claims it has DNA directly from Rex's mouth, linking him to the leftover pizza and to Waterman's body. I feel like serial killers that kill in such self-destructive ways, almost like they have some kind of a demon in them. Something, I don't know, like a demon done took over. Not that I care, right? But how could you do something like that over and over? Like you're living in utter depravity, utter filth, dead bodies. Your goal each day when you wake up is, how will I kill again? How will I murder today? How do I get a fresh kill? I need a fresh body. It's horrible. And this guy is staying real mum. And his lawyer, he's one of those brash, sort of loudmouth type lawyers, so to speak. So it seems to me it's looking like he may try to put up a fight here. Is this going to go to trial? I don't know. But they got him on with the DNA. We will see as time progresses on how this case will eventually turn, and if he will be charged with any additional murders, being the fact, again, he's been charged with 3. Were 11 bodies found on that beach. Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Until next time, everyone.
Looks like you lost another one.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart, like really, really, really smart, like I am.